Now, in this case, we want to talk about gradient. Gradient is a measure of how steep or flat a line is. Now, in this case, we have two lines in our grid here. We have the line AB and we have the line XY. Now, on the line AB, there are 2 points, point C, with the coordinate 3, 1, and there is also point D with the coordinate 5, 3. Now, how do you get the coordinates? The coordinates, we first read the value. The horizontal axis is called the x-axis, and the vertical axis is called the y-axis. So when reading the coordinates, we first begin by movement on the x-axis. Therefore, the point C is the point 3. 3 is along the x-axis, and 1 is found along the y-axis. Therefore, C is the point 3, 1, and D is the point 5, 3, because 5 is on the x-axis and 3 is on the y-axis. Therefore, this 5, 3 is called the coordinate of D. So, coordinates. So, coordinates are given in the form of x, y. The first value represents the value on the x-axis, and the second value represents the value on the y-axis. And therefore, if we want the gradient of a line, then you need to find the change in the y-axis over the change in the x-axis. And therefore, when you talk about gradient, which is the basic of this topic, is the change in the y-axis over change in x-axis. So if we want the gradient of line AB, therefore, then we are going to use the 2 points that appear on the line AB. And the points we have are point C, which is 3, 1, and point D, which is 5, 3. So if we take point C as the first point and point D as the point 2, then we can represent this one now. If C is the first point, then we can now say this coordinate is now in the form of x1, y1, and this is now x2, y2. And therefore, for us to find the gradient, therefore, we will say that gradient, which is change in y over change in x, will be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And for this case, our y2 is 3, our y1 is 1, and our x2 is 5, and the x1 is 3. Therefore, what is the gradient? 3 minus 1 is 2, and 5 minus 3 is 2. Therefore, the gradient of that line is 1. So we've got the gradient of line AB to be 1. Now, considering the line XY, we can also get the gradient of line XY. So, gradient of XY, line XY, will be the change in Y over the change in X. And therefore, if we take point T, which is 0, 4, to be our P1, and point W, which is negative 2, 6, to be our P2, then this is now the X2 value, and this is the Y2 value, This is the x1 value and this is the y1 value. So our gradient will now be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And therefore, what do we now have? Our y2, for that matter, will be 6 minus our y1 is 4, and then our x2 is negative 2 and our x1 is 0, and therefore this is 2 over negative 2, and therefore the gradient of that line will be negative 1. So the gradient of this line is negative 1. So generally, what have we done here? To get the gradient of a line, then you get the change in the y-axis and then you divide by the change over the x-axis. And after you've got that difference, then that one will give you the gradient. Now, we can look at a brief example. If a line passes through point 3, 3, 7 and negative 4, negative 6, how do you get the gradient of this line? If you want the gradient of a line that passes through point 3, 7 and negative 4, negative 6, then you say let 3, 7 be our point 1 and negative 4, negative 6 be our P2. Therefore, gradient will be negative 6 minus 7 over negative 4 minus 3, and that is negative 13 over negative 7, and therefore the gradient will be 13 over 7. And therefore we realize that gradient can be a fraction also, or it can be a whole number. That is how we get the gradient of a line.